In listening to that, I just realized maybe I should have read that as the extrovert. Linda is more of the introvert. So I want to be with people. But she likes to be with people too. So anyway, the year was 1965. The setting was Bainbridge Island, a short 35-minute ferry ride across Puget Sound from Seattle, Washington, where many families would go to spend summer vacation. The story goes that in the summer of 1965, 3 dads returned home from their golf game one afternoon to find that their families were bored. Joel Pritchard, Bill Bell, and Barney McCullum were vacationing on a property that had an old badminton court. In an effort to entertain their bored children, the dads looked around for a net and badminton equipment, but could only find ping pong paddles and a wiffle ball. You know where this is going. When they realized how well that ball bounced over the net, they lowered it from the 60 inches regulation of badminton down to 36 inches and developed a set of rules for a game that the whole family could play. Some of you have guessed by now that I'm sharing the origin story of none other than pickleball. But there's been some dispute about how the game was named. Betsy McCullum Kenny, the daughter of Barney McCullum, who was there when it all started, maintains that Barney always said it was named after Pickles, their dog, who would run off with the balls from the game. But with the recent gaining popularity of the sport, several investigative reporters have done a deeper dive into the naming of this game and have suggested that Pickles the dog was actually born several years later, so it was probably not the namesake for the game. The other alternative theory comes from Joan Pritchard, the wife of Joel Pritchard, one of the original dads group, who has been quoted as saying the game reminded her of a pickle boat. In crew rowing, the pickle boat is made up of oarsmen selected from the leftovers of the other boats. Now, it's important to make the distinction between a pickle boat in sailing, which is the last boat to cross the finish line, and a pickle boat in crew rowing, which has more to do with this random selection of rowers. Pickleball is a game that is made up of part tennis, part ping pong, part wiffle ball, and part badminton, with rules coming from a hodgepodge of other sports. And the teams in pickleball are made up of whoever's on hand to play the game, just like the rowers in the pickle boat. So by now, I hope you're thinking, this better be like a Rachel Maddow introduction where there will soon be a point to the story. Yes, I've been a bit self-indulgent in talking about pickleball, because not nearly enough of you have read my name tag and asked me about this game. But more importantly, I think there are some similarities between this game and UUCSV. If you think about the makeup of our congregation, we really are quite a hodgepodge of people. Outsiders might look at us and think, what in the world holds this group together? We're a pickle boat in that sense, a delightful creation of leftovers that don't fit in neatly anywhere else, but when brought together in our own special boat, form this amazing team. And indeed, one of the best parts of pickleball is that it's usually played in teams and not the same team every time. Whoever shows up steps onto the court to play. Thus, the rules of the game remain the same, but the game itself is constantly changing depending on who is playing. Does that sound at all like a living tradition to you? Okay, I might be stretching my metaphor just a bit, but yeah, just a bit. But as I've been reflecting on what it is about this game that has captivated not only me, but hundreds of thousands of other people, I really think it is this concept of teamwork. Now, I should probably pause here and offer a little trigger warning or a little reassurance for those of you who might be getting nervous that you're going to be asked to recreate some horrible childhood memory of lining up to choose sides for a team in gym class. No, you do not need to start sweating, and no one will not want you on their team here, because that's the beauty of UUCSV. You're on the team the moment you click on the Zoom link or walk through the door, simply because you're here. What I'd like to do today is offer an invitation to you to select what part of the team and how you want to play the game, but more on that in just a minute. The other reason I wanted to talk about pickleball today is quite simply because playing this game, and hopefully you can tell by now, even talking about this game makes me happy. That sounds like a simple thing, but after many years of studying and teaching about what is now called positive psychology, or the science of happiness, I am absolutely convinced that we have some choice, some agency about whether or not we are happy, and that happiness is contagious. I could cite all kinds of academic sources here to assist me in making my point, but I'd rather have you engage in a moment of self-reflection instead. One of my favorite concepts from the positive psychology literature is the idea of flow. This is what some people call being in the zone. Flow is when you are completely immersed in whatever the activity is. You're often oblivious to the outside world. You're totally centered in the moment. Sometimes these are individual or solitary activities, but for just a moment, and you can close your eyes if this makes this easier, I would like for you to think about a time or an activity when you have found that sense of flow with other people. A time when you lost track of time because you were totally engaged in the experience. What does that feel like? What do you appreciate about that experience? Do you actively seek out such experiences? Just for a second, see if you can capture the essence of a moment of flow. And then as you're reflecting on that feeling, the second step to this is I want you to think about how that flow experience, how that moment of happiness can be brought here. So the question becomes, how can I bring that feeling, that sense of flow to UUCSV? I wish we had enough time today that we could all share our reflections and I could hear all those stories, but I hope you'll take a couple of minutes at coffee hour to tell somebody else what that moment was that you were thinking about today. You found that feeling of flow, the intention of being present in the moment with other people. Since we are all on Team UUCSV, playing this team sport together, we are automatically connected. But to stay well connected and interdependent on one another, I learned a very important lesson from my high school coach, which is we have to talk to one another. We have to communicate. During the winter months, I play pickleball at the Miller Center, and for the past several months, the Bucknell field hockey team has been practicing indoors at the Miller Center at the same time my pickleball group plays. I was struck by their constant, what I call chatter of this team. The constant, you got this, or great shot, or over here, or hey, I'm open, are all part of what binds and builds that sense of being on a team. We do this in pickleball too, and it's pretty easy to identify the former coaches as we play because they're constantly talking while playing, usually offering words of support and encouragement. They/we, because I think I'm one of the talkers too, chatter, not so much to deconstruct each point, but to keep the momentum going if the play's going well, and to offer the you can do this spirit if shots are not falling where they might be intended. At any rate, I think we need a little more of this kind of chatter at UUCSV. We need people to notice when we've done good tasks particularly well. And when we stumble or mess up, and we all do, it's important to hear encouraging words so that we have the energy to try again, to attempt to do it better next time. It's through this chatter, this talking to one another, that we feel connected, needed, and valued. And we do need you, and we do value you. To rephrase that concept of Ubuntu, I am because we are. Now, we've talked quite a bit in the last couple of weeks during our stewardship campaign about our financial goals, our treasure. And we are so very appreciative of all of those of you who have made annual pledges. We spend a lot less time talking about time and talent, which are equally important, if not more important, for the future of UUCSV. So let me take just a moment to highlight some of the areas where we have some opportunities for you to share your time and talent. And remember, when we're talking about talent, it doesn't have to be related to something you already know how to do. Here is a great place to take some risks and try something new, to learn something you have not tried before. 5 years ago, I had never heard of pickleball and would never have imagined this was my gateway happiness drug. So what I'd like to do now is simply highlight a few of the areas in our pickleboat. The pickleboat opportunities is what I'm going to call them, and the key people that you might talk with as you identify how you can find more of your flow here at UUCSV. If you are already a team leader and comfortable doing so, wave your hand or stand up so the newer folks can begin to identify faces and names. We always assume that everybody just knows everybody else. I'll get there. I'm going to name people here. I'll start with the yard sale team because that's coming up soon, and we will have lots of chatter about that in coming weeks. Robert DeGangi-Rouse and Mary Zimmerman are leading this team and would be delighted to talk to you about the ways you can help. And Roma, yes, Roma, yes, for sure, because we have like, I think a move-in scheduled this week, but you'll hear more about that, I'm sure. I know, it's a full team effort. I'm just, team leaders for right now. There are lots of opportunities around the yard sale for all skills and ability levels. Several weeks ago, Nancy LaGrave shared her news that she will be moving soon, which I'm still in denial about, but there will be big shoes there to fill around small group leadership, as well as coordinating hospitality and kitchen-related tasks. Tasks as simple as loading the dishwasher can be a place to find flow, especially when it's done with others. We've been very fortunate to have the wisdom and skills of Sam Geis and Mike Coons leading the building maintenance team, and there are many tasks to be done around our building upkeep. Stay tuned for spring cleanup days coming soon. Our worship team has done an amazing job of creating and delivering hybrid services each week since the pandemic, but doing so requires much more energy and more people than pre-COVID times. So there are lots of ways you can help here. If you can read, you can help with worship. Talk to Dee Castile, Reverend DC, or Sarah Kelly if you'd like to be more involved in worship services, and I think we're going to have an upcoming opportunity announced during announcements around that, because you too can create a service with something as silly as playing pickleball as the guiding metaphor. I would certainly be happy to talk with anyone interested in leadership positions in general, or more specifically serving on the board. Despite the bad reputation that board meetings often have for being long and tedious, those of you on the board will be happy to share the idea, I think, with me that there's been a lot of laughter at our board meetings recently. And with your support, we really have been able to accomplish some pretty big undertakings here. Chatter to your board members so we know if we're on the right track and if you would like to participate. If you have interest in the financial aspects of our organization, Josh is not here today, but he would be happy to talk with you about any number of ways to get involved with tracking, planning, fundraising, and/or spending our money. We call this our FinFund team, which is short for financial and fundraising, but the emphasis really is on the fun part. Other key people to approach are Kathy Staten and Clayton Lightman about tasks related to the caring team. Clayton Lightman and Linda McGann would love some assistance with the membership. Alex Chang has been keeping our technology running and guiding our safety team. Social Concerns has been led by Lois Passy and Leanne Coons. And Dee Castile, our music director, is always looking for more musicians. Many of you are already helping Sarah Kelly with RGL, and she always has more opportunities available there. You see, I'm almost naming everyone who is here today because this is this interdependent connectedness. What you may not know about what Sarah's doing, though, is the amount of administrative work that has fallen to her. She could certainly use some volunteer assistance in this area, too. As you can tell from this list, almost all these teams are small in number, many with only 1 or 2 people, which is why we need you. There are tasks to be done, oars to be pulled in our pickle boat, but when we find flow, even the most mundane tasks can become the source of great happiness, and happiness is contagious. Many of you are probably familiar with NPR's This I Believe segment, which helps people share essays and ideas about people's core values. Little did I know when I started to write this sermon that I would be engaging in a This I Believe essay. So in short, here is what I believe about how we grow and share our community at UUCSV. If we want to grow, I am absolutely convinced that this will happen organically, naturally, if we allow people to see us in our flow, in our zone, doing the things that make us happy and sharing that spirit intentionally. Others will be attracted to us and will be clamoring to get in our pickle boat when we can share our sense of community with them. And when we show how we're all rowing together, perhaps not always certain where we're going, but we're going together because we are connected and dependent on one another, just as that African proverb suggests. If you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. So jump in that pickle boat, my friends, pull on the oar of your choosing, and let's go team UUCSV. May it be so. Blessed be.